let me play you something that not all of you will recognize. I certainly do. So if you're of a certain vintage or you're really into hits, great hits from the mid-1960s, take a listen to this.
Just a breeze will muss your hair, but you smile away each little care. And if the rain should make you blue, you say tomorrow is
wonderful memory. I'm just smiling as I hear that. Jimmy Ryan. Jimmy Ryan of the Critters, these days part of the Hitmen. There is a Beatle connection that has to do with Paul McCartney and Carly Simon. We do have that connection coming up. But, Jim, we're going to save that. We welcome you to Beatles Fab Forum.
Thank you. Hi.
Hi. It's great to have you here. When the Critters were at their... the Critters originally came from New Jersey, right?
Correct.
So
yeah.
when Mr. And you would probably agree that Mr. Dyingly said, I mean, you guys had some great records, including a terrific cover of John Sebastian's Younger Girl. And I know David Fricke had some questions to ask you about that. But
sure.
In 1966, that was a pretty big hit record, right?
It was, and we had a lot of fun with that. We did a tour with the Dick Clark Where the Action Is tour to promote that.
Mm-hmm.
And promote it we did, and it did very well, and it was a fine run while it lasted.
Did you have a sense of perspective about American bands versus British bands, specifically the Beatles?
You know, I never felt like we were competition for them. I held them in such high regard. I was happy to be within 10 points of them. I'd be happy to be within 20 points of them, but I never expected to knock them out at number one.
I was going to say, your first experience, is it the Ed Sullivan Show as it was for so many of us, or is it something else?
Oh, no. I did much better than that. In my junior high school band, I had a few friends, and one of them, their dad was a music business lawyer, and he got us tickets to the Carnegie Hall show, the first show they did in the United States.
Wow.
We were in the 16th row, and I will tell you, I'm not sure how they sounded because they had this tiny little PA system, and the level of shrieking was it was 120 dB. You know, at my ears, I was surrounded by young women screaming at the top of their lungs. So you could hear a little bit of music coming through every now and then. And they did 20 minutes.
Wow.
No encore.
See,
took a full, almost touched their heads to the ground bow after every song, and they were gone in 20 minutes. So
the Critters lasted, what, through the end of the 60s, or didn't quite make it that far?
Didn't quite make it that far. We made it till about, I think, 1968. Paul Glanz, our final keyboard player in the Critters, called me after the Critters split up and said, "Hey, I got a gig for us if you want to take it." And I said, "Who?" He says, "Want to be the bass player for The Crazy World of Arthur Brown?"
Oh, man.
I said, "Get out of here." He says, "Absolutely." He says, "I'm in, and they asked me to find a bass player. So if you want to do it, you're in." So I toured with Arthur Brown for, a summer.
I graduated from high school in '69, and in the late spring of that year, our senior prom had a music act, and the music act was The Crazy World of Arthur Brown.
No way.
And the thing that pisses me off to this day is that I didn't have a date, so I missed the gig.
Oh my God.
But The Crazy World of Arthur Brown played at the high school prom of Central High School in Philadelphia.
Oh my God, that's insane! I love that. See, Phil, that's how hip Philadelphia is.
Oh man, Philly was rocking, man. We had it all going on. I didn't have it going on, but Philly had it going on.
So after I'm sorry, I was going to say, so after The Crazy World of Arthur Brown, is that when you started literally a second career writing film music and commercial music and all these other things?
That was much later.
Mm-hmm.
What happened after Arthur Brown is I spent about a year working in a guitar store in Greenwich Village called Dan Armstrong's. And lo and behold, one day Dan said, "Hey, I want you to meet my girlfriend." I said, "Cool." And he brings in Carly Simon. And Carly is just, at the time, she's just a secretary. She lives with her sister. She's done some recording with her other sister, Lucy. She was living with her sister, Joey. And we became great friends. And on a couple of occasions, she started doing jingle singing. And she called me and she says, hey, you want to do a jingle? And I said, sure, why not? So I got to sing on a couple of jingles with her. And I guess about 6 months later, she called me and said, you're not going to believe this. And I said, what? She says, I got a record deal. Want to play on my record? I said, absolutely.
So Carly Simon is really where you begin as a musician for other people who perhaps their names are a little better known than James or Jimmy Ryan, I guess.
Yes. And the film scoring and jingle writing and all that stuff started kind of the mid-'80s. I wasn't working that much with Carly. I moved to London for a little while, and I was living over there and doing sessions with a lot of people there. Then I came back, and I had a band called Wonder Gap on A&M, which didn't really do much. It's a great little band, but you know, whatever. It didn't work out. So I started writing for TV, and I landed one amazing gig scoring news music for CNBC. I got to do all their daytime shows. And that was 2001, and they're still playing.
Wow.
So that's a good one.
Woo! That's what every musician wants. And you also got involved with a very interesting idea for a band, the Hitmen. Tell us a little bit about the Hitmen.
The Hitmen was started by three of the Four Seasons, Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons. Lee Shapiro, who's our keyboard player and music director, got the idea after Jersey Boys took off. He thought, wow, if ever there was a time for us to kind of cash in, he was the guy who arranged Oh, What a Night and Who Loves You and the big hits of the 70s. So he called Frankie Valli and said, I want to put a band together and go out and do this stuff. Is that okay with you? And Frankie says, yeah, absolutely, go for it. He says, I'm going to be doing it too, so, stay out of my way, but yeah, go for it. So Lee, Jerry Polchi, who sang Oh, What a Night, Don Ciccone, who was also one of the Four Seasons and was also the lead singer of the Critters, another connection, they called me to finish out the band. And Larry Gates was our bass player at the time. Unfortunately, both Larry and Don passed away last year and the year before. What it was basically guys who had really long resumes of playing with hit artists. That's why they call it the Hitmen. So these guys were with the Four Seasons and Barry Manilow, and all we do is songs by artists that we were involved with. So it's a show of number one records, and we're the guys that played on them. We're all singers. There's 5 lead singers in the band, so the harmonies are extremely tight, in tune, and good, and it's just an absolute blast. It's the most fun I've ever had playing in any band, period.
I'm looking at your tour schedule, and it's, let's see, it starts off in Clayton. Is that Clayton Opera House?
This summer we're going to do Clayton Opera House, then we're going to go down to Cape May, and then another place in the Jersey Shore, then Mohegan Sun up in Connecticut, and then, you got it there, so you can probably tell me better than I can tell you.
Folks can find that at thehitmen.com or James Ryan, or give us the website.
No. It's thehitmenlive.com.
All right.
All one word.
So I teased before that there is a story that you are very much involved with that involves you, Carly Simon, and somehow you get Paul to sing backup for Carly. Tell us how this came about and when it actually happened.
Okay, it was 1971, I believe. We were doing her No Secrets album, the one with You're So Vain on it. And we were doing a James Taylor song, Night Owl. We had cut the track. The track was like an all-star track. It was Jim Keltner, I believe, on drums, Robbie Robertson doing the second guitar, Nicky Hopkins on piano, Klaus Bormann on bass, and me on guitar. So we did a really good killer track. And Carly kind of sent me out to have dinner. She said, I'm going to just do the lead vocal, but, check in. We may be doing some more stuff. And I said, great. So after an hour or so, I called her, and she says, I nailed it. I got the lead vocal. Why don't you come back? I called a couple of people to do backups. You come in and do the backups with us. And I said, fine. So the 2 people she called were Bonnie Bramlett and Doris Troy. So I was in pretty good company, and Carly was singing background too. So I kind of look around the baffle that soundproofs us. I look around the thing. It's Paul McCartney. And then I thought for a second, I said, well, we are in Air London, George Martin's studio. So, wow, maybe he's working on something. Paul hits the talk bag and says, can I help? And so we said, yeah, no, Paul, we got it.
Yeah, no, go away.
Go back to business. I don't know what you're doing in there, but, we only allow professionals in here. You know what I'm saying? So we were thrilled. So Paul came out, and in a matter of minutes, it was done. He says, well, why don't you sing this? And you say, and when the song gets to this point, let's all sing this. And damn, it was done. It was a great part. Everybody was happy. It was just a thrilling experience. But it doesn't end there. Bonnie went home. Doris went home. It was just Paul, Richard Perry, Carly, and myself. So Paul just dropped that he got a call to write the theme song for a movie. And would we like to hear it? Because he wasn't sure if it was any good. He goes out to the studio, we stand around, and he plays us Live and Let Die on the piano.
Wow.
It was just the most thrilling experience, and it gets even better. He said, well, we're recording it tomorrow. Why don't you stop by the studio? So we got to see George and Paul interacting. Honestly, I don't know if the orchestra was there or not, because at Air London, the control room is above the studio. So you have to go right up to the window and look down to see if anybody's recording there. And we didn't want to push our way in. It's, sit down in chairs and stuff like that. We kind of poked our head in, tried to be unobtrusive. But, we certainly heard playback and Paul making suggestions to George about orchestration, and George saying, no, Paul, I don't think that'll work. And Paul actually saying, oh, okay.
Wow.
So that was a fun 2 days.
Well,
amazing 2 days.
We will look for you on the road with the Hitmen Live, and we're looking for a song, in fact, that you were involved with. And I thought if you would like to, in fact, introduce that song on the Beatles channel, please go right ahead as we say goodnight.
Okay, this is Carly Simon and myself and the roster of people I told you about before singing James Taylor's Night Owl with the help of Paul McCartney.
I'm a night owl, honey. Sleep on.